Hey, sup. This video is how to systematize dating as a professional. This is the method that I used to meet people when I was dating. Just to note, I am currently happily married and I love my family. I'm doing this video as another perspective on dating because some of my friends and family are currently in a dating period in their life, and they are working professionals who are curious about my view on it and how I approached this topic when I was dating and working. This video kept on getting delayed because it takes a while to dig up some of these old memories and really think about what really worked for me and translate it into something presentable. I mean, maybe missing some things, but I really wanted to get this video out and move on to different topics, as this topic took up a majority of my prime video making time. Also, I wanted to state up front that everyone goes through many different periods in their life. Things sort of ebb and flow, like not dating, dating, not dating, dating. And in this particular video, I'm going over a very specific period, which may or may not be your current state or place in your journey. I also want to make note that the majority of my dating experiences were in large cities with many tech-savvy and like-minded people around. With that being said, you may find ideas or approaches in here that you may want to consider if you are currently dating or plan on dating. Okay, here's the main setup. You're a professional who wants to date, and you're in your career job. You're not still in school or in some place where you're hanging out with a bunch of friends and meeting new people all the time. You want to meet new people because you shouldn't date people where you work. You shouldn't date people where you work, and you're not going out to the club or whatever your equivalents of social gatherings are. You may be a workaholic and really only have time if you plan or schedule it. This was the setup that I was in, and this worked for me. The big part is that you're a professional, and you should be using your professionalism to help make things easier for you. Just like in your professional job, you create your own products that help you do your job, even if it's just for you, your own internal products that help you work better. Everything is a system and should be codified, written down, and improvable. Don't try to hold it all in or remember it all. Work smarter, not harder. Know what your goals are. Track your progress, your lead and your lag metrics. The main idea is to increase the likelihood that you'll meet somebody who meets your criteria for dating. And with this system, hopefully, it'll allow you to be more successful. So here are the things that I recommend to have. A goal and an open mind, a system, a way of standardization, and every app that you're comfortable with downloading and using, and has a large pool of active users. So goals. Know yourself. Ask yourself questions in order to start the thinking process, and think through this process. Why are you dating? Are you dating because you want to, or are you dating because you think you should be? Because of your age or your parents, or because all of your friends are now married and they're trying to vicariously live through you or pushing you to date, and that's all they ever seem to be interested in, and it's easier to talk with them about that instead of talking about the new things that their kids are doing. Ask yourself, is this the right time for you to date? It may not be, but don't make up excuses for yourself. Also, don't try to squeeze in dating because you happen to have an extra hour or so in the week. Remember, if this all goes well, you'll need to foster the relationship, and that'll take additional time. So carve out the time now, use it to plan and prepare first, and then begin dating. A side note, an easy way to carve out this time is exercise. It could be like a 2-for-1 thing, where when you're exercising, you can also be thinking about dating, and just have a way to capture those ideas while you're exercising. I just use my notes app and the dictation. It may not be a perfect translation, but it's way easier to remember it after you're done exercising. Some of the possible goals that you could have while you're dating, you can have more than one goal, and your goals can change over time. So you could just meet new people or explore a new area, like if you just moved. You could want to just have fun or a good time. You could want to see what you like, make some self discoveries. It's okay to not know what you don't know. Just find out. Like, you're never too old to find out more about yourself. Uh, you could do activities or participate in events or things that you wouldn't want to do by yourself or don't like doing by yourself. It's okay to not be serious, but I recommend having a plan and to have your options open. But with whatever you're doing, I recommend being upfront with what your intentions are. Nobody has time for games, especially at this stage in your life. I recommend against having the goal be enter into a long-term relationship, um, because the relationship itself shouldn't be the goal. You probably know people who fantasize about being married or being in a serious relationship. That shouldn't be the goal. That should just be a checkpoint and an otherwise happy relationship. For your goals, track your progress. Track both your lead and lag metrics. So your lead metrics are things that you can do and control. So you can control sending out a message. The lag metrics are the result, which should be correlated with your action. You cannot control whether someone else will respond, but it may be an indicator based off of the effectiveness of your lead metrics. Your weekly progress goals should be on how many times you cast out the line, not necessarily on how many fish you catch. But on the same note, if you're not catching any fish, you may need to tweak your bait and take written notes. It doesn't have to be like actually writing, you can have it digitally, but make sure you record your results. One last thing about goals, which may give you some motivation to professionalize your dating life. If you look ahead to the end, like the very end of a happy and loving relationship, you hear it all the time about how much they would give to spend one more day together. So imagine getting that day, getting multiple days, but on the front end of the relationship, like when you're younger and healthier. This is more likely to happen if the approach to your dating life is more effective. So meet a lot of people, find somebody that you like, and then you have more time with that one person that you like. Or multiple people, whatever you're sort of going for. Systems. You need a complete system to be efficient and effective with your time. A complete system meaning that it will take you from the initial stages of your goal all the way through to your goal. You want to spend as little time with the people who do not meet your standard in order to allow more time to find someone who qualifies and then be with that person who qualifies. This is both for you and the other person. So if you're spending time with someone who you're not compatible with or doesn't meet your goals, then they're taking time away from both you and the person that you'd be spending time with. Every interaction should be done for some purpose, whether that's to get information or attract people to you or even figure out what you like. It's okay, once again, to discover. It's okay to be wrong about what you thought you liked, because who cares? You should be happy. And note, we're going to talk about the standardization of some things that will go out to a bunch of people. Just know that it's you taking the time to build your systems. And it's your systems that is being directed and executed by you. even if someone else is actually executing them on your behalf. Um, so don't think it comes off as fake or not yourself, because you're taking the process and you're optimizing it. It's still you. And remember, fake it till you make it. It'll eventually become you. So here's the plan. Use technology to increase the chances to meet your goals by progressively and systematically canvassing every dating app. Then categorize and optimize your actual dates, track your progress and methods, analyze and improve your systems, and repeat until your goals are met or they change. Note, I'm not saying that you won't ever go like old school and have a blind date or actually meet someone for the first time in person, but we want to build a system that's scalable and that gives you a better chance to make a good first impression, and allows you at least a warm start when you take the time to actually meet someone in person. Get every dating app you're comfortable with downloading and begin your system process. The idea is like fishing. You improve your odds of getting a bite if you have multiple lines and multiple pools than if you just had one line and one pool. The caveat is some places have more fish than others. So before you start sending out all your lines, you just want to make sure that you don't overfish an area, and your selection pool dries up before you perfect your craft. So this takes a little bit of research. Know your general population demographics in your area. Are you in a densely packed city, or are you seeing the same 4 people on the same app? So broaden whatever filters you have. Don't limit yourself. See how many people are within, X miles of you. Know how far you're willing to travel. Open the app on different days of the week, different times of the day or night. So different people have different shifts. They may work on the weekends or at night, like some doctors or nurses. Take note of the activity level on all the apps and the people in the apps. You'll probably see some of the same people on multiple apps, just like you. And when you send out a line, be ready to engage. Don't just send it out. Be ready. And if someone messages you, you don't necessarily need to respond right away to them. Do it when it's convenient to you. And if they get all weird about it, then you just dodged a bullet. You don't need that drama. Okay, so one of your initial app goals should be moving your conversation from the dating app to just a standard phone text as quickly as possible. This will help you block out possible competition, as you'll be moving the candidate from the general population to a specific channel with you. It should also help eliminate a barrier of whichever dating apps chat feature that is, since it's easier to use your phone's native app, both by program and psychologically. Additionally, it'll reduce your candidate's need to open up the dating app in order to speak with you, where others may peek their message while they're looking at your message. So your profile should be generally templated, but just be aware that, like your resume, sometimes you need to tweak it for whatever audience you're going for. Also, you can purposely tweak it just to see what gets you more bites. You can change your pictures, your formatting, words, whatever jokes you're using. Just don't put like a 10-year-old picture from when you're in college in there. No one likes like a catfish. So and be tasteful, because just imagine that your coworkers or bosses, subordinates, and your family may be able to see all this stuff. Scripting. So scripting is having a preset diagrammed conversation such that you can just follow an algorithm and don't have to expend much thought or effort on a per person basis and a per text basis. So remember, you want a scalable system, one that you can, expand, and you'll get burned out if you have to put a bunch of effort into just saying hi to someone, or just those initial conversation starters. The goal of scripting is to give you a quick filter for reasonable candidates and to set you up for a date as quickly as possible. So in order to do this with a script, you should be intentional on its construct and have elements that move you through the conversation quickly. You're building gates that help you make decisions on how much resource you should invest onto each individual. You're also giving yourself a plan to move ahead. You're not wasting time. So you're not wasting time, and you're actively progressing towards your goals. Try to avoid just chatting to chat. Don't waste your time, and don't waste theirs. You're templating your actions so that you can make the most impact over short sessions and give yourself a system that you can improve upon, versus having to figure out each individual individually. Basically, you're trying to find something that works with your goal, and then do that. To note, some people like to read, the profile of whoever they're talking to, and make their initial contact comments referring something about their profile. I always thought that came off as sort of weird, like they're trying too hard. Even though that's like a normal advice that someone would give, like, hey, I read your profile. It's just weird. Also note, if they wrote something in their profile that says, don't just say hi, I want to know that you read my profile, I found that doesn't really matter. If they like what they see, if they like what you wrote, they'll say hi back. And if they're so stuck up that they won't respond to you based off of that principle, then it's sort of a red flag anyways, and you should just move on, no matter how compelling they may seem. Believe me, having a little princess, or prince, I guess, dictate to you what you should and shouldn't do, it gets old really fast, and it'll just eat away at your soul until you can't remember who you were nor how you got yourself into that position. Anyways, here's an opening algorithm that worked for me. I would just say, hi, or hi, I'm Jason, or something very basic in that salutation. I would then wait for a response, then reply, what are you up to? Either just by itself, or depending on the time of day or my availability, I might add, what are you up to this evening, or this weekend, or this Friday, or this Saturday? I would then wait for a response. I would comment on their response. Then inject some bits of canned personality or canned responses. Note, you should be sharing personal information, but not private information. For me, it was usually something light and safe, or, like some socially acceptable hobbies like camping or hiking, which I actually like doing a lot of the time. Evaluate their responses. You don't want to cut it off too quickly based on their responses, since you sort of want to have a good amount of data to make a qualifying decision. You want to account for bad first impressions. Some people don't write well, or were in a hurry when they wrote it, or they're doing the same thing that you're doing, but their answers just weren't well scripted. The response to what are you up to gives you a lot of additional information, like how long it takes for them to formulate their response, how long it takes them to answer, what's the grammar like in their response, what are they actually doing or say that they're doing, what do they want to display to you, like how specific are they. For instance, if they're saying they're going to whatever place with a friend versus an old friend or an old college friend, that might indicate on how busy of a dating life they have, noting that friends could be other dates. Also note that this is like fishing. You're just casting out your line and you're waiting. So don't be impatient, and don't be all weird just because someone's not responding right away, or because they were responding and then they stopped. Being impatient because you weren't considering their life or interruptions that they might have, that's a super big turnoff. And if someone does that to you, like is all weird because you're not responding to them right away, that's a red flag. So, I mean, you shouldn't have to stop whatever you're doing to answer a text. I mean, unless it's an emergency, just shouldn't have to. Then, based off of their responses, I would decide whether or not to move off the dating platform. So if you decide to not move off the dating platform, it's fine. Just remember your chances go down as long as you're on it. If you decide to move to text, like phone text, save their contact information. Don't try to remember their number. This will allow you to make written notes. Don't try to remember this. So insert their picture from the app into your phone. Make note of which app you made initial contact on. And I'd also recommend putting like a key tag word on your potential dates, which is different from someone that you've actually dated. So potential date and dated, just so you can keep it in line in your phone of who you've actually gone out with and who you haven't. This will help you find and sort them later when you have a bunch of contacts on your phone. Or if you find them again after a while of dating, and you'll know whether or not you actually went on a date with them before or you haven't. If you're uncertain on whether or not to engage, but you're still sort of interested, then exponentially increase the time in between your texts until you've either lost interest or they've lost interest or you've regained interest. Note, the exponential increasing between text not only helps protect your time and effort, but also helps account for bad first impressions. So an example of this time increase would go from like immediately to a few minutes to like maybe once every few hours to maybe once a couple days or every day or certain days of the week. So you want to note that the timing to move off platform can be anywhere between a couple minutes to a couple days or longer. Really depends on a lot of factors of availability for both you and the other. When moving off the platform, move quickly to secure your first date. This can usually be done with the information that you've gathered earlier. Just be very specific with what you want to do and when. And if you're rejected, just remember that they've already expressed interest in jumping platform with you. So just assume the best and continue. Be flexible with the time of day and day of the week that you're requesting. A recommendation to make it easier to make a connection with your candidate is use mirroring whenever possible, where you're basically mimicking their style and tempo and word choice. Remember, this isn't you being fake. It's about developing your communication skills. You'll find that in longer relationships, partners start sounding alike. It's because they've built a common language where they communicate. And this common language is usually the first step to building a culture where a team can define their common understanding and goals and take things to the next level. When you find something that works, try to break it down into its components and see what are the universal things that you're doing when trying to find a date that are providing success. And then keep doing that. Dating. Do what you want to do. Don't think you have to go somewhere or do something that someone else wants to do, even if that someone else is you. Have a good calendar. Don't mix up dates. Don't overbook. Have a pre-made, curated selection or rotation of clothes to wear. So you don't have to be worrying about what you'll be wearing and you can just focus at the task at hand. Make sure everything fits and fits whatever activities you're doing. Rehearse those activities with the clothes that you'll be wearing, because it's not a good time to find out that your clothes right up, like if you're climbing for the first time. And I also want to stress this. It doesn't matter if you think you have style or not. Get a second opinion. At the very least, it'll give you confidence that you have good taste. Have a variety of places where you want to go or activities you want to do in different areas of the city. You could have lunch dates while you're working. It's a great way to meet up with people that you're not really sure about, since you have a fairly reasonable and acceptable hard stop to getting back to work. Be a tourist in your own city. Try out those restaurants, the ones that have good reviews. Expand your horizons, right? Don't just have one go-to date because you're comfortable with it, unless you really like it that much. But it could potentially limit the likelihood that a candidate is agreeing to go with you. Although this could be a purposeful like gate or filter for your candidates. Just make sure you're consciously making those decisions. It's okay if you're trying something new out and it's just a bad venue. It could make for a nice story one day. So don't worry about it. But don't have a bad date because you didn't do your research, or you didn't know you needed tickets or reservations, or you got lost, or didn't know where to park. Organize your dating library of things that you like to do and save this electronically such that they're easily accessible, like on your phone, so that when you're closing in on a candidate, you have the ability to quickly pick something that you like to do or would like to do. If you're having multiple dates within one day, use a place where you can shower and brush your teeth as a pivot point. Usually your home or a gym or just some base station where you can conduct your hygiene procedures. This is for two reasons. You want to template your dates as much as possible, starting off clean, both physically and mentally, like sort of like how you shower before work. It's like getting your game face on. The second reason is because you don't want to smell like your first date when you go on your second date. Perfumes or colognes or like whatever. Your date probably won't say anything, but they'll notice, even if subconsciously. Also, be cognizant of the condition, location, and environment that you've left your first date. It'd be awkward to see your first date while you're on your second date. Give yourself plenty of time logistically between dates. Expect your dates to go well. Allow yourself over the expected time of what you had planned, but have a hard stop time. If they like you, it'll be fine. You'll just be able to go on another date. Just don't be late for the second date. It might go better than the first. I recommend not having more than 2 dates per day, unless it's like a pre-planned short encounter. But I usually don't like planning short, coffee or boba dates, because these types of dates I find are sort of a waste of time. Like they're too superficial and there's not enough time to determine whether or not you should continue to date somebody. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a place for them in dating. Like if you're in college or you're consistently seeing someone and you're trying to like step up and probe the boundaries of your relationship. But as a professional, that time slot may be used for something more productive. However, know yourself and your audience, and it may happen anyways. So if you do have such a coffee date, I recommend having an extension plan to the date, since people usually say coffee or whatever when they're not really sure and that they want to have a full date or time commitment with someone, and they want to have their options open to end the date early and not seem like a jerk. An extension plan could be something as simple as taking your coffee or boba or whatever to go, and then having a walk through the park, maybe picking up some Vietnamese sandwiches on the way, and then having a impromptu picnic. I used to carry like a little pocket blanket that I could just pull out and sit on the grass. And it was sort of smaller, so you'd be sitting sort of close, because by that time you've sort of gained some interest. But if you want to squeeze 3 in a day, I guess if you met up early in the morning, it might be okay. Like if your first date was to go running together, and then you could do that early, and then your regular dates in the afternoon or evening. Just make sure that you're considering your energy levels and activity planning. You don't want to have 2 fairly physical activities in one day and then be falling asleep during your dinner date. Dossier template. So you want to have a file for everyone you're currently or potentially dating. You don't want to mix up who you've been doing what with and mention if they remember that time when, and then you've never done that thing with them. You're not going to do one on everybody, just the ones that you could be dating and want to put a little extra effort into. It'll help you categorize people and remember what stage of dating you are with them and their potential. Though you could store everything about someone in their phone contact information, I actually recommend against that because it's sort of difficult to have a comprehensive templated note like in there in the phone contact. So I recommend having, the two. The phone contact, which has the name, picture, how you met, if you've dated, and then two, the templated notes, something that you can have all the categories pre-made so that you can just sort of forget about thinking about what's important to you. So I just use my notes app in my phone. You can have things like the places you've dated, the general location of where you should be looking, and the types of activities you should be looking for this specific person, taking in mind their socioeconomic background and status. Like what would be comfortable for them. Any allergies, food preferences, major likes, dislikes, topics that might have come up in conversation, the initial contact date, like when you met them online, and then also things like when you also went on your dates, any inside jokes you had with them, whatever else is important for you to know about them, like their values, beliefs, global mindset, whatever. So once again, this is all templated, so you can just copy and paste it and know where your gaps in knowledge are, about them. Like you wouldn't want to forget to ask if they had any food allergies or preferences, and then go somewhere where they wouldn't hardly eat anything and they only eat salad, for instance. Some extra notes: be clean, and wear a specific cologne or perfume while dating, even if you don't normally wear it. Find one that's suitable for you and use it every time for every date. This will do a few things. So, taste and smell, right? They're really powerful memory aids. It'll bring you and your candidate back into sync, especially if, each of you or, you're having multiple dates. It'll help you get mentally prepared for dating. And as a bonus, if you enter into a long term relationship and stop wearing it, as most do, if you ever put it back on again, it'll bring them back to that time when you did wear it and were dating. If you're dating multiple people, I recommend not dating concurrent people in the same location or activity. In other words, have some creativity, have different dating pathways until you can either drop one or have them meet, whatever your goals are. This serves two purposes. Firstly, you're less likely to conflate experiences, which is misremembering what you did with one or the other, and then misspeak about it, and then open up some weird conversation that you probably didn't want to have. And secondly, a more sentimental reason. If things work out with one of them, then all those places that you've been with them will become more special. And though they may not be the only person you've taken there, they'll be the last person that you've taken there. And it'll keep that memory sort of whole. Before you date, or before the time of the date, pump yourself up, both physically and mentally. Stay hydrated, eat, sleep, physically get your body ready, just like you would for a long run. Dating can sometimes turn into a marathon, and you want to make sure that your body is ready to go the extra mile. The day of the date, prior of the date, during the preparation phase, move around, loosen up, get your body going, your blood flowing. You don't want to go onto a date cold. I would actually do a few sets of push-ups before my date. Not to like muscle failure, but just to get a little bit more swole, right? Which, if anything, it helped me out mentally as a confidence boost. Mentally rehearse your date in your head. Know your upper and lower limits, financially. and what you're willing to do, and review what you have planned as options. So generally, I'd always want to give someone a chance, like when I meet them and they don't quite match up what they were in their profile. Since, we had some level of communication or connection prior to actually meeting up, and on the other end, I'd try to restrict myself from like going all out on the first dates, partially as a safety for myself, but really also to filter out gold diggers. I mean, if you're okay with it, then that's fine. Go for it by all means. But I had to ensure that I had enough funds to sustain consistent, constant dating, which I felt was better than just going on a few like big dates. And finally, if you're not happy, like happy with your life and yourself, don't try to fill the void by dating. It may not work out so well for you. As happiness is an internal feeling, and though the external world can bring you things that provide you external or physical comfort, it's really the work that you do internally that influences your happiness. And if you're not a happy person, then you may be making someone else not happy by being with them. With all that being said, if you're not happy, you can always fake it till you make it. You don't have to be the person you were yesterday. You don't have to be the person you were in the morning. Eventually, if you smile enough, a real one will come out. And eventually, you'll feel like whatever persona you're displaying. So, thanks for watching. I'm trying to build a community to share systems and ideas. I just wanted to share what worked for me. I'd like to know what worked for you. Are you married? How do you date? If you're dating, what methods are you currently using to improve your dating? And how well are those things working out? What are your goals? Leave me a comment. Even if this video is super old, I get notifications and I like to read them. Amazon helps out my channel, so to date I've made 40 cents, which is infinitely more than zero. So, see you next time, and take care.